Well, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for today's Bernina webinar on ultimate bag making techniques. My name is Adrienne Gallagher and I've got Deb here helping me as well, and we will be your guides for today's hopefully informative session. Let's get started. So as I was saying, today's webinar will be recorded and a recording link will be sent to you shortly. If you have any questions, do type them in the chat. We will try to answer them live for you. And when you do get that recording link, feel free to share it with your friends if they might find this information interesting as well. And we are excited to share what we know about bag making with you today. Here we go. So the purpose of today is to share with you some techniques and tools to up your skills in making bags. And why is bag making so popular right now? And I would argue throughout history, Deb, it's because you can personalize a bag, you can customize a bag however you want. You get to choose your fabric, you get to choose the size and shape of your bag, you can change the color, you can add all kinds of great personalizations. Is it still all in the corner? Bags are also a quick project. They can be completed all in sometimes a day or a weekend, depending on the complexity of the project. And speaking of that, there are bag projects for every level of sewist, whether you are a beginner sewist and you want to make a drawstring bag or a tote bag or a cosmetic bag, or a bag for your tools, as Deb likes to make. We've got bags for you. If you want to increase your difficulty level and make a quilted purse with zippers, that's a great project to try too. And then you can go all the way up to customized backpacks and luggage and fun things like that. So anyone can make a bag. It's really, really great. I love a bag because it's a very useful or purposeful object, something I can use every day in my life. They also make wonderful gifts for friends and family, co-workers and co-workers and other relations that you have. And frankly, I don't think there's ever been a place or time where I've said, there are too many bags. You can always use a bag for a different outfit, a different event, whether you're organizing items. So, or if you have a specific item like a yoga bag that, a yoga mat that needs containing, there's just a bag for every situation. So hopefully everybody can just see my screen. Do you see the screen, the PowerPoint screen? Let me know in the chat if you're seeing the screen. All right, so I've turned my camera off and we're just showing the PowerPoint. Awesome, thanks Julia, that's great. Thanks Nicola and Donna, that's perfect. I will show you some close-ups of some bags in a moment, so stay tuned because you know I love samples and examples. All right, so making bags, there are challenges to making bags. They can be simple or complex, but either way, there are some different bag making challenges. So let's delve into some of the most popular bag challenges and see if Deb and I can help you with our experience to make your bag making journey that much more fun and enjoyable. So one topic we get a lot is, how can I make my top stitching look even and professional and beautiful? That's something we get all the time. So just to review, what is top stitching? When I talk about that, Top stitching is usually a decorative or functional stitch excuse me, and it's usually visible on the outside of the project. You might find top stitching on a wallet, a luggage tag. You might find top stitching around the collar of a shirt or blouse. That is there either or to provide a decorative function to draw attention to that area. Often it has a functional purpose as well, where it's holding a seam allowance down or it's making a crisp corner, something like that. So top stitching is essential. It's often one of the last steps that you add to the outside of your bag. It does provide an accent to your item and also a professional finish. So great top stitching makes your bag look just that much more elevated, and it's a great thing. So we partnered with one of our Bernina ambassadors, Tara C. Sinclair of Uh-Oh Creations, and we asked her for her tips on how to create amazing professional top stitching. Uh-Oh Creations is a great company. It's Tara. She designs the bags, she makes the samples, she does great things, and her bags run the gamut from a tote bag, which is free on her website, check that out, to duffel bags, slings, and a couple of backpacks. I have actually tried one of Tara's kind of tote, it's called the Owen bag, and I just love it. Her instructions are very easy and give great results all the time. So we asked her to create a short video about her top stitching tips, and of course, Tara, she overcompensated and created a really great long video, which you can view on the Bernina Canada YouTube channel. That will be up at 4 o'clock today. And in it, you can see all of Tara's great tips, which I have consolidated here in today's presentation. These techniques in particular relate to her Buddy ID pouch. They work on all of her bags, but I used them when I was working on my Buddy ID pouch. And the reason I bring that up is Tara has generously offered to allow us to download this pattern for free until May 14th on her website, uh-ohcreations.com. Use the code BerninaFriends in the checkout and you'll get the pattern completely free. And trust me, it's worth it. I'll show you my Buddy pouch in a moment, and you're going to love it. I can't wait to use this in the conventions and meetings that I'm going to go to. All right. So her top stitching tips include choosing a thread for your project. You may want to choose a similar color to your fabric to allow the top stitching to blend in. That might be a great idea if you have beautiful fabric that you don't want to detract from, or if you're not super confident in your top stitching skills, use a color to blend into your fabric. If you're trying to decide between the lighter color and the darker color to blend in, I tend to go with the darker color. That usually shows up less, it absorbs more light. And the other thing is you could choose a contrasting color to show your skills and add another design element to your bag. That's what's so great, you get to customize it. All right, those types of threads might include all-purpose or cotton thread in a regular weight. That is one of Tara's favorite choices. She uses a lot of Aurifil and Wonderfil, and I use a lot of Metler around here. And you can just use a regular weight of thread. You could also choose to use an embroidery or a specialty thread like a variegated thread or a shimmery thread. That would be really cool too. And you could also choose to use a top stitching thread. Now, top stitching thread is a specialized type of thread, usually polyester, and it's available at sewing stores in a limited variety of colors. I've only ever seen it in about, maybe less than 24 colors in the store. So if you want light purple, there might only be purple available. So for that reason, I tend to avoid top stitching thread because I want to pick the exact color I want. So I tend to use a lot of embroidery thread or my regular polyester cotton threads. If you do use top stitching thread, it is very thick, so you will have to get a much larger needle, and it is usually best for very heavy fabrics, leather, wool jackets, felt, but it is totally not necessary for top stitching. All right. If you want to get the look of top stitching thread without the hassle, why don't you try using your machine, the triple stitch already built into your sewing machine. So let me show you on my sewing machine where to find the triple stitch. Here we go. All right, so here I am, I'm on the 770 QE Plus today, and I've got a weird foot selection. I'm just gonna change that from my last class and put it back to our regular foot. And this is a regular stitch and that would look fine. But if I wanted a heavier top stitching look, I could choose the stitch number 6 here on my screen, and that would give me a heavier look. Looks kind of the same on the screen, but how do I know that it is the triple stitch? Well, Deb knows I'm going to use my second favorite button in the whole world, the help button. So that's the question mark on your Bernina touchscreen. If you touch the question mark, your screen will go blue. It'll have a blue question on it. And now you're not in active mode, you're in help mode. And you can select a button and get more information about that, including information on the stitches. And if I select stitch number 6, it will tell me all about it. And it says that it is the triple straight stitch. Deb, I passed the test again. I get to keep my job another month. That's amazing. It's really great for reinforced seams in heavy fabric and used for decorative effect. That's what we're talking about in our top stitch seams. I do have an example of using top stitch thread here actually on my little sort of fake sashiko effect here. This is using top stitch thread and just using straight stitch and really pulling the tension up on the top stitch to kind of bring that black bobbin thread up, and it kind of gives you a hand look effect. And we talked about this on Facebook Live about a year ago about sashiko and hand look stitches. So you can always check that out on Facebook Live or the Bernina Canada YouTube channel. So if you have any questions, just shoot them in the questions box and we will be happy to answer them for you. So you don't really need to use this heavy top stitch thread. I find this top stitch thread very hard to use in the bobbin. It lies very, very flat on the back and doesn't always look great. So I prefer to use the number 6 stitch that Deb and I showed you on the screen. Cool. Top stitching, you often have to go through a lot of layers of fabric, and it might be a good idea to choose a needle to match your thread and fabric. Tara loves to use a Microtex needle because it's very sharp and pointy. That's a really great tip that she shared. Or she'll use a jeans needle or a top stitch needle. These are all designed to go through layers of fabric and protect your thread from shredding as you travel through these layers of fabric. So thanks for that tip, Tara. That's going to be great. Remember that you're going through lots and lots of layers of fabric, and you want to be sure to consider a higher needle size to accommodate all of those layers. So I have an example here of a bag. This was done, I got this through a Bernina dealer called Purple Cats Quilting out in Rimbey, Alberta. It was a bag of the month program, And there's just lots and lots of layers that you need to go through to get this bag handle, the bag front, the bag inside the lining, and the foam that's in the bag all together. So you definitely want to up the size of your needle to be able to be successful to get through that. All right, so don't be afraid to go to those higher sizes, 90 or 100. Tara also reminds you to increase your stitch length to 3 to 3.5 millimeters. That'll really help give you a great professional look. And she really recommends to use a foot with a guide rather than just depending on your eyeballs to keep the fabric in the right size or in the right space of the foot. She uses a number 5 foot, do you have a number 10? A number 5 foot to keep her stitches in a straight line. I like the number 5 foot too. That's the blind hem stitch foot. But if you have the option, I actually prefer the number 10 foot. Again, this is just personal preference or what you have available to you. And just every sewist is a little bit different. And Tara also uses the needle position buttons on her 570 QE to change the position of her stitches to have it land exactly where she wants for a strap or top stitching, a zipper down or something like that. So she's got lots of great tips in her video. And I'm just going to show you the difference of the number 5 and the number 10. So here is my number 5, and Tara demonstrates this really well on her video. It's got, this is the bottom of the foot. It's got a flange that goes all the way through the foot, even in this needle area. What's great about that is that will hold your fabric straight, all the way up and past the needle. It's for great accuracy. I think that's why Tara likes it so much. I actually prefer the number 10 foot, or 10C in this case, because the needle area is actually open. And that allows me to move my needle and place it anywhere I want. And it also allows me to use decorative stitches with this foot. I can't do all of the decorative stitches with number 5 because that little blade is kind of in the way in that needle area. Both of these work great for straight stitch, top stitching, and using that triple stitch. Awesome. Okay, so once you've put this on your machine, you can then, of course, move your needle position over. That's how Tara gets great top stitching. So let's look at our screen. And here we go. So here's the straight stitch right here. And maybe if you zoom out, Deb, we can see the multifunction knobs. The needle position buttons are right below the multifunction knobs, just a little bit to this side, Deb. There we go. And as I press this, you can actually see on the screen that it's moving over. And now I can choose where I want that finished seam to be. And that's what gets you that really nice, even stitch all the way along your seam or your strap. You just run your strap all the way along that flange, whether it's on number 5 or number 10, and it stays consistent the whole time. Makes my strap look almost as professional as Tara's. I think if I make maybe 100 more, I'll be just as good as Tara. Or maybe 5 more. I don't need too many. She gave me a lot of great tips there. So the other thing is that Tara gives a really great tip to take the time to maybe even try doing 2 rows of top stitching. Isn't that awesome? It looks even more polished, she says. And I happen to agree, and I'm going to try that on my next attempt at the Buddy ID pouch. Let me show you mine. I'm really proud of it. I really enjoyed making this. This is that free pattern she's offering right now. It has minimal hardware. I actually repurposed this hardware from a convention badge that I already had. So that's a great tip for sewing bags as well. You can often repurpose hardware from things you already have. So here is where Tara added a second line of top stitching right along the top of this binding on the pocket. And I think she's right. It does give it a really nice professional look. So I'm going to try that on my next one. Thanks for that tip. The other thing that Tara really explains well in her video, so please check it out, is that she often uses a decorative stitch for top stitching. You could do that on that pocket tab I just showed you. You could do that on strap anchors, which is the one that she's showing here. The strap anchor is the piece that holds the strap to the bag. Tara uses all kinds of great professional terminology that I am learning. So try using a decorative stitch with your top stitching, and she does that by using her regular number 1 or 1C foot. So give that a try. If you like these ideas and you think you want more, please watch the video that Tara created on the Bernina Canada YouTube channel. That'll be up today at 4 o'clock. Check out her beautiful patterns on creations.com. Tara lives out in Alberta and is a really wonderful Canadian designer. We're so happy to have her as a Bernina ambassador. And please download and make your Buddy ID pouch using the free codes Bernina Friends from her website. She'd love that you get to take advantage of this opportunity to try a new pattern. So check that out. Thanks, Tara. Another thing that is kind of difficult with bags, can be a challenge, is often we have to sew thick seams. Thick seams are just a reality of bag making. There's a lot of layers of fabric, stabilizer, thicker fabrics like canvas, leather, cork, and so on. A lot of foam or batting as well. So that's just gonna happen in bag making. Sometimes if the stitches are very thick or the fabric is very thick, it can result in stitches that all land in one spot. You can get large stitches, you can get broken needles, skip stitches, all kinds of bad things happening to good sewists. We don't like that. And it can also cause poor fabric feeding, just so thick the machine can't deal with it. So how can we work with our machines to deal with this sewing challenge? Because it can be a challenge. So again, we reached out to our Bernina ambassadors. This time we reached out to Alessia Lebedenko. She is an amazing Bernina ambassador. She specializes in, I wouldn't say she specializes. She does everything. She does patchwork, stuffed figures, bags, quilts, home dec, toys. I can't list everything here. She's got books published, magazines published. She's very, very talented. We love talking to Alessia. So she's actually offered us a free pattern on her website. It's called the Love Is Scissor Case, and it's on alessiadesign.com. So just if you Google Alessia Lebedenko and scissor case, this comes up. I'll include it in your email with the recording link as well. And she's offering a free pattern and step-by-step tutorial. These are very easy, free downloads from her website. So I was talking with her and we collaborated on some great ideas. So first of all, sometimes you have very thick seams in your bag. There's just nothing you can do. There's a lot of layers coming together. And you can actually reduce bulk by following the instructions of the designer very carefully. If they say to press the seams open, trust me, press the seams open. If they say to press the seams towards the zipper or the front or whatever, follow the directions, certainly the first time you're making that pattern, because this is all carefully planned by the pattern designer. If you have a lot of thickness, sometimes you can remove the stabilizer in the seams. So in Tara's ID pouch, I could have not put stabilizer all the way to the edge. I could have just put it within a 1/4 inch of the edge because that's where the seam line is going to be. So you could try doing that by removing some of the stabilizer from the seams. You could try flattening the seams even more by using a roller like the one on the screen, or even using a hammer. I'm not kidding. We actually do sometimes use a hammer when we're using dense materials like denim, canvas, and so on. But please test this first before you take a hammer to your precious fabric and you find out that it leaves marks. So you definitely want to test this technique first. And the other thing I want to say is don't pull an Adrian. Don't try adding extra stabilizer to the bag just because you think you want it to be thicker or sturdier without testing it first. I have that situation happen to me with this bag. This is the Sew Demented bag. Oh, I'm sorry, it's called the Sew Together bag by the company Sew Demented. I love this bag. The zipper creates the handle. When you open it up, there's 3 pouches inside. Like, it's great. Everything is organized. There's my rollers. I've got my rollers for bag making and paper piecing ready to go. It's got all kinds of great zippers and stuff like that. And I thought, oh, okay, well, I would like it to be a little bit sturdier, so I will add medium weight stabilizer instead of lightweight. Well, you know what happened, guys? When I got to sewing these really thick seams, this got unnecessarily thick. It did not add any more stabilization because the pattern itself actually creates the stabilization needed to hold the pockets in place. And so all I did was really create more work and thickness for me and my machine. So it's absolutely not necessary to add more stabilizer unless you've read that in a hack or you've tested it and you think you need more stabilizer. Don't fall into that Adrian trap. It's my public service to you. I do these things so you don't have to do it. So when you do have thick seams like this, you might want to deal with the unevenness by using a foot that's uneven, such as the number 38 foot, or you might want to try using the Bernina height compensation tool that comes with, I think, every machine. It's a very unassuming tool. Let me show you what it looks like. So this is the beautiful, the understated, the elegant height compensation tool. Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's a great little tool. It looks very unassuming in your Bernina kit, and you can use it for all kinds of great things. So I use this when I'm shortening jeans, not if I'm shortening jeans, Deb. When I'm shortening jeans because I'm short, and I love it in bags. So if you've ever sewn jeans or a bag, you often get to the point where you have multiple layers of thickness. So I'm going to fold this over so that now I have 9 layers of denim here. I don't know if this machine can do it. All right, here we go. So I'm going to put my foot down. I'm going to put my foot down, Deb. And remember that your presser foot is designed to work with your feed dogs in this nice horizontal flat position. And what happens when we do something specialized like this, I'm going to make a sound now because it's the first time I've stitched, excuse me. Here it is, the Bernina burp for calibration. So now what happens is as I start to sew, the foot, I'm on triple stitch. We don't need to do triple stitch today. Let's do single stitch. Look what happens to the toes. The toes of this foot start to point skyward. And often what happens at this point is the machine is unable to sew forward anymore. Now this is a Bernina and it's very strong, so it's continuing to sew forward. But normally the stitch gets a lot smaller and it's very difficult because those feet toes are going up and they're no longer in contact with the feed dogs down here, right? So that's why it gets stuck in one place because it can't actually feed the fabric at all. And a couple of things might happen here. Your stitches sort of start to pile up and the fabric won't move anymore. So as good sewists, what do? We push real hard, right? We push really hard and try to get this through there. And one of 2 things will happen. Your needle will break because you're pushing on the needle so hard, it got moved out of place and it'll break. Or you'll get one big old enormous stitch and it doesn't look very good. So what you want to do is have the foot flat. so that it will actually work with the feed dogs. So all you have to do is grab that handy dandy height compensation tool, decide if you want to use 1, 2, or 3 layers. I'm going to see what 2 looks like. Let's do 2. Place it under your foot behind the needle. And I'm going to put my foot down. Voila, Deb. That foot is flat again. That's going to work perfectly. And you're going to see that as I start to sew, it's just going to sew as if it was a regular sewing day, which it is. Ah, perfect. Amazing. And this guy just falls off to the side and you're off to the races. Easy peasy, perfect stitching. Looks great. No bunched up stitches. It handled it just fine. And that was 9 layers. That's a lot. You can also use this height compensation tool on bags when you're trying to top stitch on the side, but half of the foot is hanging off. I could probably put this height compensation tool here and help my machine level off. Now be careful that it's not in the needle area, but now when I travel along here, the machine is going to be able to effectively move along with the feed dogs, right? That makes a lot of sense. And it's just physics. It's going to work. So there you go. That little height compensation tool will work really well. If you have just a slight difference in height, you could use the piping foot number 38. This is a favorite of one of our other Bernina ambassadors, Paul Leger. And look what's so strange about this foot. It's got one side quite built up and thick and one that's quite thin. Better in the light there? There, better in the light there. And what's great about that is you could let that high side right on top of the high side of your bag and the low side on the low side, and it would carry on and work with the feed dogs. The disadvantage to this foot is that it's only got the central needle area, but it is a really great foot for working on bags, adding trim, adding Velcro. You can slide the Velcro easily under there, and it stitches really well. So number 38, that's a little bit of an underestimated foot. I think it does a great job. Even though it's named the piping foot, I use it for everything else, apparently. Kind of typical. Other things you could do is you could use your walking foot. That'll help to bring lots of fabric through. That'll be great. You could use your dual feed if it's available on your machine. Remember, you need to use a dual feed foot with your dual feed. And you could consider increasing that stitch length, right? That's going to help the feed dogs do an even bigger stitch and grab more fabric and pull it through. So those are a couple of things you can do. The other thing you can do is you could adjust your presser foot pressure. Sometimes the presser foot pressure is too hard. The foot is pressing down too hard on the fabric or not hard enough, and that's not helping to move the fabric through. So adjusting your presser foot pressure is very easy on the screen of your machine. If you have a touch screen machine, you're looking for the icon that looks like a foot with a weight on it. And that's actually over here, Deb, if you can just move a little bit over. On this machine, it's over here. It's got this presser foot and it looks like a weight on it. And that is presser foot pressure. I know that because I've pressed the help button before and I've been here a while. And every stitch has a default setting, and you could increase or decrease, probably decrease in this instance, your presser foot pressure and try it, test it again to see if you get better results. That's how easy it is. If you want to go back to the factory setting, you can hit the clear button, or you can touch the yellow bounded box. It will go back to the factory setting. It's that easy to program. Some of the other machines, like the 4 series, has presser foot pressure as a dial on the side of the machine near the needle, above the needle. Cool. So try presser foot pressure. That might take the pressure off. I went there, Deb. I'm sorry. All right. The other thing you could do is make sure you have a great sewing machine. A great sewing machine like a Bernina has the power needed to go through those layers. And our machines, from the entry-level Bernina to the top of the line, all feature exceptionally strong DC motors, direct current motors. These motors are just like electronic computer motors. It's a stronger motor with consistent power, offering extra power for the machine and good consistent power for the electronics on board. And it doesn't matter if you have the 325, the bottom, the entry-level machine, or if you have the 880 plus, all Berninas have these powerful DC motors, and they are real strong. The other thing that Bernina machines feature is hammer mode, and hammer mode is something you don't really come across too much. It's when you're doing thick fabrics, the machine will read that the needle is having difficulty going through the fabric and will send more power to the needle. And sometimes if the fabric is maybe just at the limit of what the machine can do, you'll hear kind of a motorized hammer mode sound where the machine is sending the message back and forth from the needle to the motor to add more power. And if it is not successful, you'll know because you'll get the dreaded gears on your screen, and you'll just need to flatten your fabric a little bit more and you should be fine. But all Bernina machines feature that hammer mode and can get through lots and lots and lots of layers of fabric. Bernina machines also have an excellent box feeding system. I forgot to put a picture on here of this, but our feed dogs don't go around in a circle. They go around in kind of this rectangular motion so that the feed dogs, the pointy parts underneath the fabric, are in contact with the fabric for the longest and are in direct contact, consistent contact with the fabric for the longest time. It is actually an excellent feeding system, and I have to tell you, a lot of the time, things I think are not going to feed through my Bernina machines feed through much better than expected. So Alessia's project often have thick seams in them, and the free project that she provided, the scissor case, does have multiple layers of foam, batting, and stabilizer, which gives it a great look. It's going to last a long time, and it's going to protect my wonderful Tula Pink scissors for a long, long time. So thank you for this, Alessia. And I'm really excited to make a new one with my Tula Pink fabric. That's the next thing I'm going to make. So Alessia does rely on the strong penetrating power of her Bernina 475 QE to get through all those layers. She also uses a walking foot a lot of the time for her quilting in the projects. Just looks professional and consistent stitches and carries the fabric really well. And then when she's putting a thick project like this together, again, she uses that walking foot to help her guide all that project through. Works really well for her, gives her a precise and professional look. And I think Alessia's projects look just so appealing. I always love making her projects and seeing what she's bringing in to show us next. So if you would like Alessia's free pattern, the link is here. It's under shop.alessialdesign.com, and it's under the heading of Bernina. Look for more projects coming there. You might want to bookmark that area so that you can go back there regularly. And I do recommend you sign up for her social media for further inspiration and tutorials on what Alessia is working on. We have some exciting news that Alessia has been showcased on a whole episode of The Quilt Show with Ricky Timms and Alex Anderson, and that will be released on May 8th. If you would like to view this for free, you can sign up for a free 7-day subscription to view her episode, which is number 3010. Just go to www.thequiltshow.com and sign up for the free 7-day subscription. We can't wait to see what Alessia and Ricky and Alex talked about during that episode. Hope you'll all view it as well. All right, well, just a few more topics and we'll let you go for great behavior. Another thing that sometimes puts a lot of people off of trying a new bag pattern is that there's a zipper in it. And maybe we haven't installed a zipper before, and it can be a little bit intimidating. Zippers are great in bags. They add functionality, and there are lots of variety available in zippers these days. You can get regular dressmaker type zippers. You can get bag zippers. You can get zipper by the yard and then get custom zipper pulls to put on them or change the colors of them. That's really fun and wacky to do. There's lots of varieties of zippers. My advice to you is to always get the best quality zipper available to you. I recently made a boo-boo and purchased some zippers online, and I should not have done that. I should have gone to my local quilt store and purchased a good zipper, and I have learned my lesson, and I will not do that again. All right. The pattern on the screen that you see here today is a free one from weallsew.com. It's a Father's Day dot bag or cosmetic bag with a little bit of a leather accent, and that's a free pattern from weallsew.com. That's the Bernina of America blog. Check them out. There's always free patterns coming up there every few days. It's a really great place to check out. All right. How can we install a zipper without totally freaking out if it's our first time? Well, let me give you a couple tips. Deb and I like to use seam tape with our zippers. That's like Wonder Under or Steam a Seam, and it comes in this nice convenient 1/4 inch roll. Deb, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I use this for binding my quilts too when I'm running a little late. Deb's shaking her head. She's like, when are you not running late? But anyway, this is really cool to add on your zipper to keep your zipper in place, right? When you're sewing it down. Rather than using pins, because as soon as I put the pin into the zipper, I find that it wrinkles and I don't get a really nice straight result. If I use the tape and tape it in place, whether it be a pressurized tape or one that you can adhere with your iron, just be careful not to melt your zipper, that keeps it in place without bending the coils or the fabric at all. Another thing you could do is you could use Wonder Clips or any type of fabric clip. I have these in every size. I have them in the large and the regular and the teeny weeny. These teeny weeny ones are really great to hold things very precisely. They work really well, but I got to tell you, when I use the tape, I don't need these at all. I don't have to put them on. I don't have to take them off as I'm sewing. And I just love using the tape technique. Cool. I think it's better than pins or clips. You're going to want to use a zipper foot. Usually your machines come with a zipper foot. If you are sewing with leather or vinyl, something sticky, you can even get a zipper foot in a non-stick version. We have one here. The Bernina ones are often green, and that's the non-stick coating on there, and that will help to slide over those sticky fabrics. It's important when you use a zipper foot to move your needle position either to the left or the right, because usually in the center of your zipper foot is a metal post that will not be able to sew through. You will break your needle. So you need to move your needle left or right. And I actually use a built-in function on my Bernina machine called the Creative Consultant to help me remember to move my needle left or right. So let's look on my machine and see what that looks like. All right, Creative Consultant is my little sewing friend who's with me all the time. It's not you, Deb. You're not with me all the time. Deb looked a little disappointed there. So Creative Consultant is the dress form icon on the side of your machine. Or if you have a 570, you might have to hit the home button first, and then you'll see the dress form on the bottom of your screen. So you go for the Creative Consultant, and basically what happens here is she's gonna, I think she's a she because it's a dress form, but it could be a he. They help you with your next project. So let's pretend we were working on that sew together bag, and we were the buddy pouch. We were going to work on the buddy ID pouch, and we're going to put a zipper in, and we are using what type of fabric. So this is our fabric choice here. You can of course use the help button to decide which fabric is which. I have these memorized. I'm a trained professional. So this is lightweight, medium, and heavy woven fabric. I'm using a stabilized woven, so I'm just going to call that a medium weight woven material. And these are all the different techniques. Am I seaming, overcasting, blind hemming? Am I making a buttonhole zipper? Am I doing a decorative stitch quilting? Am I doing free motion, or am I doing applique? Well, today, Deb, we are sticking with zippers. So if I select the technique of zipper, this machine will now tell me some suggestions. So it will say that I should use stitch number 1, an 80 needle. I might disagree because remember I put lots of extra stabilizer in there. So maybe I would up the size of my needle, and it would suggest a foot, the number 4D. It's got some extra information in here. I could check what that says. Oh, it says to use stabilizer for best results. Oh, that's actually helpful. Thank you. And I just went back on the breadcrumbs to get back to the previous menu. In Bernina land, we call those breadcrumbs. So if I'm happy with these suggestions, I could say, thanks, creative consultant. I think I will take your advice today, and I can hit OK. And look what this lovely sewing friend did for me. She moved the needle position over all the way to the right so I won't have a needle collision with my zipper foot. Smarty pants. She changed the stitch length because I said I was using a medium weight fabric. I could still change that and make it a little bit longer. Maybe I want to make it 3 like Tara. Yeah. It also even changed my tension because it knew it was a different type of fabric. So it gave me a little help here and changed the tension for me so I don't have to make that adjustment. And if I like this, I can attach my 4D foot and go ahead and sew this. Awesome, right? Creative Consultant is an amazing tool on a Bernina. If you get a chance, play around with it, try some different techniques, and just see what the machine suggests. It's a really nice sort of hand holding when I'm trying a new technique and I'm not sure how to do it. All right, give a zipper a try, give zippers a chance, all right? Another thing about zippers is don't try to do too much at once, all right? When Tara's instructions on her ID pouch, they are really, really good, and she knows that I'm an impatient sewist. So what she does is when you're attaching the zipper, let's look here. So here I need to attach this vinyl, and then I have to attach the zipper to this bag exterior, and also I have to attach the lining at the same time. What Tara does is she breaks it down for you, and you first baste your vinyl on so that it doesn't move, and then you baste your zipper on top of this. And then she asks you to put the lining on and actually form the finished seam, turn it out and top stitch it. Now, I thought that was too many steps, but I have to say, I got really great results, Tara. So she nailed it. Normally I would have just tried to sew all of that together without the intermediate steps, and I would have had very sloppy looking seams. So thank you so much for the great instructions, Tara. It really made a lot of sense to me. So don't try to do too much at once. Use the basting stitches to hold your zipper in, and then add your fabric or whatever you're doing. Tara explains this really well in step 5 of the Buddy ID pouch. So I suggest you download it today so you can check out what I'm doing. So don't be afraid of zippers. There's lots of things we can do to make it easier on you. Add a zipper to your bag. You will not be disappointed. Cool. All right. Just a last few couple of tips. If you're thinking of working with clear vinyl, and you should, because clear vinyl is great to use in pouches, tags, bag pockets, complete bags made out of vinyl. If you're going to, what do you call that? Like a concert, you need to have a completely clear bag. So you might want to sew one right out of clear vinyl. The trick with clear vinyl is that it really wants to stick to the base of your machine, to your foot, to the table. It wants to stick to everything. And if you make a hole in the vinyl, it's there permanently. So I want to show you a bag I made from Creations. I made this one, oh gosh, a year and a half ago. And there's a really cute clear vinyl pocket on here. And boy, am I glad I tested this first, because I was struggling a bit with this sticking to my machine, but I ended up making it look great because I tried some of my tips. All right, so what could you do? Well, when you're using vinyl, you don't want to use pins because those holes will remain there forever. So don't do that. Use your Wonder Clips. Avoid your iron. You're going to melt things. Get that handy dandy roller out and use that to press your seams as directed. Use a non-stick foot or the leather roller foot. This is what saved my bacon on that. I used the little leather roller foot. This guy is only in contact with a little bit of the feed dogs, so the vinyl doesn't have a chance to stick to the feed dogs. And because it's a roller, it doesn't stick to the vinyl either. And what's great is it does work with the feed dogs, so it pulls the fabric through just fine. And this little guy is what helped me to make my vinyl pocket. I can't recommend this one enough. It works really well on leather and cork as well. And you can use it to apply trims, make jumbo piping. It's a very versatile and just enjoyable foot to have around. It's just fun to play with. So if you don't have one of those, that would work great. Or I could have used my non-stick foot. I've tested this as well, and this works really well, really slippery on this fabric. It does not stick to the bottom and helps to pass it through really, really well. I have a couple of those at home, and I was using this one actually on the buddy pouch. So they work amazing, and I can't say enough about that. When you're sewing with vinyl, again, the larger the stitch, the better it looks. So do increase your stitch length to at least 3 millimeters, maybe even 3.5. And one thing to think about with vinyl is it is a little bit stretchy, and the best way to handle that is to sew slowly. Maybe use the slide speed control on the front of your machine to keep you at a slow and steady pace. I just found that worked a lot better to go a little bit slower. Gives the machine time to release the vinyl from the feed dogs or the foot. So give that a try. I'm really pleased at how great the vinyl looks on my bags now that I've learned some more techniques and tips. And if it really is sticking a lot, you could lower the presser foot pressure to avoid some sticking. And also the feed dogs on Berninas are incredibly sharp. So if you were making a mostly acrylic bag, those feed dogs could actually make marks on your vinyl. So consider lowering the presser foot pressure like we did earlier to prevent any marking on your bags. All right. So that being said, we've come to just about the end of our presentation. If you have any questions, this is the time to enter those into the chat. I think we've answered the ones that are in there already. That's great. Thanks for those. Just some general tips from Deb and I about bag making and being successful at making bags. Whenever possible, do use the best quality materials available to you, whether that's your machine, your needles, threads, repurposing things. Try to use the best quality things available to you. Bags take a lot of wear and tear, a lot of time and effort to make, and so just try to use the best things available to you. If you're trying a new technique, test on a scrap first. You'll be sure that it's going to work and be a pleasant experience for you. I really enjoy, I add a little bit of stabilizer to my scraps just like the bag is, and that way I can test it out and make sure it's going to work. And that seems to work really well for me. Clip your threads as you go, especially if you're using clear items, because any loose threads will show later on. And I actually was showing Deb that I'm gonna have a job tonight to tweeze out a couple of threads that I left in my Buddy ID pouch that are driving me crazy. So if you can clip them as you go, you'll have a lot less work to do. And don't forget to add personalization, fun details, embroidery, whatever you like to your bags as you go to increase your enjoyment, your learning, and of course to make you really happy and satisfied with the finished object. So enjoy your bag making. Let's see if there's any questions. Great. So we have a couple of people that are really enjoying their new Berninas to make bags, so that's really great. And Wendy says, thanks for the great information. And we've got a question that says, I'm using wax canvas. Are there any tips for cleaning the feed dogs when done? Yeah, so when you're using wax canvas, that wax can come off on the sharp feed dogs of your sewing machine. And of course, you do want to clean it as quickly as possible so it doesn't travel farther into the mechanisms. So be sure to take the needle plate off and clean the feed dogs. I use an old toothbrush to kind of clean it out. And I like to use Q-tips because they somehow try to attract that wax and pull it out really well for me. Any loose bits I try to remove with my vacuum. What you really don't want to do is blow it in further to your machine. So you want to take out as much as you can. You probably could also use an alcohol-based cleaner. Here at Bernina, we use something very similar to Fantastic. So you could put Fantastic on a little rag or a Q-tip and try to use that if it's very stubborn to remove the wax. But wax canvas is a really fun thing to sew with. I've only made one bag with wax canvas and I want to try that again. So thanks for that question. I'm just going to double check what the other questions are. Hang on. Everything else looks pretty good. Everybody's having a great time and they know how to customize their machines. That's great. I'm glad we could help you tweak a little bit of your technique just to make it a little bit better for next time. I know I've seen a lot of great bags out there. If you've made a great bag and you want us to feature it on our Facebook page, do shoot me an email or you can shoot it over to Deb. Deb, it's D-U, so it's D-Y-E-W at Bernina-Canada.com. She handles our social media. She can help you out with that. And just before you go, I have a really great new person that has joined the education team. And that is this little guy here. He's a little moose that we made on a Bernina 480. Isn't he so cute? And he's learning the ropes here in the education department. And I think it's a he, we're not sure. We're pretty heavy in the female department, in the education department. So we're hoping for a male intern. And he needs a name. So if you have a name for this guy, please let us know what you think would be a great name for our Bernina intern. My personal favorite is one that was submitted on Facebook, which was Peter Moosebridge. That was a very good name. And the current one that I came up with that nobody here really likes is Geronimus. But you know, it's a work in progress. We've got a couple more days before he needs a name. Right now he's just Moosey. So help us out, please, because we need to do better than that. All right. So some sort of Canadian or Swiss or Moosey name. We'll sleep on it. Give us a hand, please. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. It was a real pleasure to be with you again. I think we answered everyone's questions. If you have more questions, you know where to reach us on our Facebook page or on Instagram, or you can check out our videos on the Bernina YouTube channel. We have Bernina Canada YouTube channel and lots of corporate videos about our products on the Bernina International YouTube channel. Do check out our ambassador pages, Alessia Lebedenko Designs, and also Uh-Oh Creations. And enjoy those free patterns while they last. And let us know what you sewed. We'll see you for our next lecture. We're going to come up with a great topic. That's going to be Moosey's problem, and we'll be back with another great topic. Thanks for watching today. Feel free to share the recording link. Bye, everyone.